our show, Fresh Geek Context. It is here we discuss insightful views on a routine bi-weekly basis over the incredibly nerdy things we can't stop talking about. To take you on this dorky ride are your hosts, Josh.
Us, ora Joshu.
And myself, Jay. So why don't you take a seat, sit back, relax. We're here to do all of the heavy lifting. It is about to get nerdy. Welcome, everyone, to episode 7.
Anime.
For those who are not in the know, anime is Japanese animation. It's a thing. It's a worldwide phenomenon. There is literally something for everyone. And there is no way we can do this alone. That is why we have some help from our friends. Joining us today on this topic of discussion is a good friend of mine who goes by the name of 4T.
Welcome to the show, 4T.
Oh, thank you, guys. And first off, did my man just say whoosh?
Yes. Yes. Yes, he did.
This dude might be my hero. might be my hero.
I took the famous opening from Goku and used it as
I
my
know. I was like,
own.
whoosh.
It took me. I had to kind of fight it because I have to work through this intro without messing up and. But yeah. Welcome to the show. We're glad that
how
you're
you
here.
doing? Hey, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Not a problem.
Now, we love having you here, man. Now, but please excuse me. Tell me if this is too forward or whatever, but is the name, is it the number 40 or is it like the characters 4 and T?
It's just 4T. I wanted to have Iced Tea, but would you believe there's already a guy that has that name?
Go figure.
So you know how you go to Gmail, you make an email account, and somebody has it, and you really get frustrated?
He really did that.
4T is all I had, so that's what I went with.
Okay.
How many did you go through before you landed on that one?
Oh, man, to be honest, there's an Ice Cube. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Jeez, man. I mean, I was like, God, what an Iced Tea, man.
The nerve of that guy.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Jerk.
Well, jerk. Jerk indeed. As always, before we get into things, we have some formalities, some traditions, if you will.
Yes, I have been waiting for this.
4T, we usually have a question, and the question is this. What is your favorite piece of nostalgia that doesn't stand the test of time?
So, if you guys don't know, it's just no secret. I'm a fan. I've been listening to your show.
Yes.
And objectively, I got to say, I really enjoy it. It's one of my faves.
Thank you.
So I heard this question, and I've been thinking, what would I say?
Okay.
There's some nostalgia that doesn't stand the test of time, and I came up with several things.
I swear if it's Thundercats, I'm gonna kill you.
Yo, but that intro, though.
Yes, that intro is amazing. Yeah,
I think me and you don't have that original conversation.
Initially.
Yeah, so anyway, no, we're not gonna talk about Thundercats.
Okay.
I'm probably at risk of walking the plank, possibly putting my head on the chopping block. But what I have to say is probably taboo. Someone's sacred cow should not be something said in public. But I'm gonna say it because I'm bold, and this is a fresh geek context.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm just gonna tell the truth here. All right?
Okay, go for it.
Look, they were a world phenomenon.
Oh man.
They were known by all. They're a household name.
Oh no.
But damn it, in 1987.
Oh no.
1987, it was bad. Then, when we were young kids, we enjoyed this.
Hit me.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my god.
1987 version.
I think I might have found something worse than you saying Thundercats now.
Do you understand that?
I do understand it.
Do you know the creators don't even like that?
I knew that.
They don't like now, mind you. Now, the comic that came out in the late 80s, awesome.
Absolutely.
They rebooted it, redid it, 2003.
Absolutely.
They're great, but then they kind of fell off at the end, but I'm not going to go there. They're currently doing this 2012 version, 3D,
On Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon, what do they call the DreamWorks style?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're doing that right now. And let me tell you something. That is all awesome.
For now.
But my God, they're not the Ninja Turtles. They're the Slapstick Turtles. It's kind of like Teenage Mutant Slapstick Turtles.
Okay, so you're committing to this. This is no way, because I haven't watched
He's
it
in it
recently.
at this point.
I have watched the first 3 seasons just to confirm.
Dope. You were listening to the show.
I said, this sucks. It's like Cowabunga is Shredder. Now listen. Was pizza crack? Michael Jackson. Michelangelo. That dude was they like pizza, but damn.
I know, they really did.
Hey, pizza, man.
Well,
he woke up. I want some pizza.
You remember Emilio's Pizza back in the 90s? Like, they had to have made a killing
Yeah.
from all that.
But the dude was like, whoa. Like,
He was next level.
I think there was like a problem
Okay.
Like, I think he called it pizza, but there might have been something else going on.
Now, I
After
haven't
the show was
seen...
over, he went to therapy for pizza.
He had to.
This is
He's got to get that pizza.
I was like, whoa, calm down, man. It's
Okay.
not that serious. I get it.
Okay.
Turtles, pizza, get it.
Yeah.
Calm down, dude.
Okay.
And then it's like, here comes Shredder, right? So let me take my sword, right? Am I hitting with it? No, I'm going to hit the top of the roof and let flour fall on his head. And I'm going to play the drums on him. And then whoop, 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 whoop. They're like the freaking Three Stooges.
Wait, you mean like...
That was like Jabberjaw.
Like, are you talking about like flour powder?
I don't know. It sucks. It just sucks. But back then it was I don't know why I
all
was
loved
compelled.
it.
When I got home from school, I had to watch the Turtles.
But we can't watch it now. This is what you're saying.
it's
It doesn't stand the
painful.
test of time.
Except for one thing.
What's that?
Casey Jones.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
Casey Jones is awesome.
I
The
mean,
one thing.
Come here, lawbreaker. What's the famous quote?
have you had enough iron in your
And
diet?
then he throws a weight set on somebody. Like, that's perfect. Now that's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
That is hilarious. And
So you're saying that Turtles doesn't stand the test of time unless you're Casey Jones.
Oh yeah, Casey Jones is definitely.
Casey
and
Jones.
he only has 3 episodes, so there's no hope.
So I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent because this episode is about anime, but you bring up a big point because there's a lot of cartoons that we talk about, and Josh and I have mentioned this many times where we're going to have a nostalgia episode. But there's a lot of cartoons that we watch that in our minds it's so fantastic, but when you start to watch it again, you literally doubt everything that you've ever done as a kid. Like you or I must have been stupid to watch this every single weekend.
And have to watch it. Can I connect something else too, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Now, Josh, before
Yes.
when I was watching the Teenage Mutant Slapstick Turtles at the time,
Yes.
I hadn't watched anime yet.
Okay.
Sure.
You see? Do you see?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
as I grew, I think I was into anime. I was about 10, 11 years old, but I started watching more anime. I started seeing more development. I started seeing longer stories. I saw darker, actually, like when I saw ninjas in martial arts, they were actually ninjas that did martial arts. Now there was a lot of blood and a lot of head cutting off, but
Of course.
I know the Turtles can't do that.
Of course.
But you don't have to like stick your foot out and trip Shredder and he falls into a grocery cart and he hits into watermelons.
I mean, but you do bring up a good point because, that show doesn't stand the test of time, but there were so many cartoons that kind of came out after that.
Oh yeah, plenty.
That was a direct correlation of talking animals
Yes.
that did action stuff.
Yes.
And we just ate it up.
Yes.
Samurai
Yeah.
Pizza Cats.
Samurai, I know, Josh, you like the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Biker mice from Mars.
I was not a
Yes,
fan
exactly.
of that cartoon.
It's like rock and roll from the planet Mars. Ah!
I wasn't a fan of that.
Like, all right. What about this? SWAT Cats, the Radical Squadron.
Oh my
Dude.
God.
We're going to go on another tangent because
Yes.
I'm going to talk about that show all the time now.
Well, hey, listen. They actually stand the test of time because one thing...
You're kidding me.
They do because now
That show's
I guess
amazing.
SWAT Cats, they actually have anime producers. They send them to Japan and they do the animation.
Oh.
And it's a darker tone.
Okay.
And it's a lot of action, and they're really doing things. And they're doing it non-lethally, but it's still hardcore.
And a lot of it's implied.
And so it stands the test of time.
Interesting.
I'm blowing your head off with a missile, but it's like a trick missile or something. I don't know. It covers you up.
Right.
But really, I just blew your head off.
Right.
Because you can't see their head anymore.
Right. Okay.
See what I'm
Didn't
saying?
they say they were going to try to bring that back recently too?
Yes.
Yeah, I heard about that. But
Yeah.
I mean, does anybody know more information? Because I know they were going on Kickstarter so they can do crowdfunding.
Yeah, that's the last time I heard about it.
Yeah, they're still in that process.
They're still in that. Oh man, I can't wait for that
they
show.
are.
We're gonna have an episode about the SWAT Cats.
But it's not going to be a remake. It's going to be a continuation.
No kidding.
Ooh, that'd
An
be cool.
improved, up-to-date continuation.
Interesting.
That'd be awesome.
We may have to have you on the show again when you have more information.
Oh,
'cause-
listen, I'm ready for this.
Okay.
And
Okay.
listen, can I just throw one more thing out there?
One more thing. Go ahead.
Street sharks. Those with some ass kicking sharks. In the song, Street Sharks. Yeah. And then what do? They just punch through walls.
And
They
then-
just rip everything
I
apart.
just remember the hammerhead shark.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that.
And they swam through the ground.
Yeah.
That's hardcore, man.
Yeah, I mean,
what? Dig through the the ground, my little shark fin. I'm just running. Those guys were hardcore.
I think 4T and I can have a whole episode where we just have, like, we should just capture our phone calls where we just talk about, like, all of the terrible cartoons that we used to watch.
Right.
Some of my favorite stuff.
Some of our favorite stuff. I mean, yeah, and this is definitely worth revisiting. Thank you so much for sharing that information. You just brought back a flashback from the past with SWAT Cats, man. I completely forgot about that show. Man, that was refreshing. Usually when we talk about, shows that don't stand the test of time, we usually leave like dejected.
We're like less of a person.
Yeah, like why did I do
Part
that?
of my soul is gone.
You redeemed us with the SWAT Cats.
You brought us in with turtles. You're like,
no,
but SWAT Cats.
Turtles. No, the SWAT Cats. Yeah, I think this episode they blew the turtles up somewhere.
Did they?
It was in a sewer and they bombed the sewer. So I don't know. Maybe they were dead.
Maybe they survived the carnage and the aftermath. Okay, so we have lots of fun in October with Halloween discussions, and November started last week, and we reviewed Doctor Strange and Marvel stuff ad nauseum. We talk tech and culture, but there is one thing we haven't mentioned at all on the show.
At all.
And that is anime.
Which is something we enjoy very much. And 4T, I'm assuming you enjoy anime as well, because, I mean, if you don't, you kind of will after this episode, I'm sure.
Jace, what's anime?
Well, anime is now. Learning time is for
learning time happened, and I talk about anime.
Learning time is after the break. Got it. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this because
you said.
Yeah, we're gonna go into Wikipedia, guys. Just gonna go right into this computer here. So I mean, we all talk about anime. I mean, when I think of anime, I am pretty sure like the first image that pops up into my mind is going to be different from yours, Josh, and it's going to be different from yours, 4T.
Sure.
Why don't I'd like to go around the table here, and I kind of want to have an idea of where everyone's mindset is. Josh, again, to be fair to our guest, I'd like to talk to you, 4T. Like, what is the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of anime? Like, what is a fantastic thing that just will always be awesome, no matter what, even today?
You mean which anime, or what do I think of when I think anime?
I mean, either or. I mean, I just, again, open discussion.
All right,
we were just talking about
I'm going to answer both those questions then. First off, when I think anime, the first thing I think is quality animation.
Okay.
Very fluid.
Okay, I agree with you.
I think a little bit more adult themed.
Mm-hmm.
I think slightly more violent.
Okay. Always, or
not
what
always,
you like?
not always, but from the action cartoons I like, comparison to the Teenage Mutant Slapstick Turtles, in comparison, a lot more violent. Yeah, you get punched in the face, not hit with a pie.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
And the punch really hurts because they get bloody noses, as you know, right? So when I think of that, I think of good fighting, I think of good style, I think a great story, I think in depth. A lot of times there's more to the story than what you think on the surface. But you can't talk about anime without talking about, I would say, the world's most famous anime, and that would be Dragon Ball Z.
All right, now we're talking. We're talking. Yes,
that's the gateway anime.
And so, if you're talking, you're absolutely right. It is a gateway anime because that is, I can't even call it a cartoon. You have to call it anime because when you say cartoon, it almost implies that you're talking about something else, like cow and chicken. It's like that's not.
Please don't ever speak of that again.
It's just not anime.
Mama was a chicken. Dada was a cow.
So, all right. So so when you talk about the first thing that comes into your mind, you're saying Dragon Ball Z is a thing that comes into your mind instantly.
Yeah, I kind of like you. That's when I think of an anime. That's the first anime I think about because that's where I got started. I didn't really know what anime was,
even though you were watching it.
I've watched anime. I've watched Submarine Boy.
Okay.
I've watched Astro Boy. I watched Speed Racer.
Okay.
I've watched Voltron.
I was gonna say
all these things I saw as a kid, but these were just cartoons to me.
Exactly.
But I didn't know they were anime.
Right.
But Dragon Ball Z, I was introduced to, and they said this is anime. This is Japanimation.
Right.
And actually, that's not true. I actually used to watch on the Sci-Fi Channel. Used to have anime movies. They had Akira on there. And I remember, you know the guy Joe.
Yeah, of course.
I told him, I said, I never watched Akira the whole thing. I just said, oh, you mean that motorcycle movie? And he looked at me.
Please stop talking.
Motorcycle movie. That's what you got out of it.
But I mean, if this is the first time that you're getting an anime, that's what you're gonna call
That's
it.
why I know the motorcycle movie.
Sure.
But I learned. I mean, it's like it can get really dark.
It could get really deep too.
Yeah.
Like crazy deep.
Yeah.
Now, like to your point, and I'm gonna get to you, Josh, in just a moment. I know that, my first anime, quote unquote anime, is Dragon Ball Z. But I mean, we were talking about this before in a couple of episodes before. Josh was getting really excited for the Power Rangers movie, which is a big thing that a lot of people are talking about, in length. But for me, I remember my first interaction with the Power Rangers was a poor one because I just said, "Oh, it's a stupid live action Voltron show." And I just could not get into it. Like Voltron to me, like that was a story. It was in depth. There was mystery. There were, I mean, there were so many layers to that show that I have not seen in quote unquote cartoons that we see today. And Speed Racer was another one that was just, there were no other shows like that. And so, Dragon Ball Z kind of made me aware of like, where does this, I just remember watching a movie with the Dragon Ball Z characters, and I just remember asking myself, where did this come from? Like, who does this? Because it's just not anything like anything
I've ever seen.
It certainly doesn't come from America. I mean, it kind of comes from America now, but it's always influenced by Japanese art and animation studios. Josh, what about you? Like, the first thing that comes to your mind when you think anime, or is there a specific cartoon that comes to your mind?
I mean, Forty hit most of the things that I think of when I think of anime. But yeah, like really in-depth, kind of like blowing your mind type stories. Perfect example is like, Ghost in the Shell, things like that. Having, can I guess, what is a cyborg have a soul pretty much, right? Stuff like that deep stuff is what I think of when I think of anime most of the time.
Of course.
And then, yeah, of course, darker and, more mature most of the time.
Of course.
Is what you think of as well. Apologize for my voice, by the way, if I sound a little weird.
That's fine.
And then when I, what show I think of anime, when I talk about it, kind of the same thing. If there's anything else out there that I like more than Spider-Man or just on the same level, it is the Dragon Ball series. It's not just Dragon Ball Z, it's the entire Dragon Ball saga, from the original, manga Dragon Ball all the way to the anime only GT and now Super. So the entire series as a whole to me is my favorite. And the first time I got into anime, again, I didn't know it was anime at the time, but it was probably Speed Racer. Like you guys. Again, I had no idea it was anime. And when I first knew about Dragon Ball Z, it actually gave on right after Pokemon at one point. I think it was Pokemon and then Dragon Ball Z in the morning, like around 7:30 in the mornings. At least it was, where I lived.
Right.
And so I would watch Pokemon. So I guess Pokemon you can consider being my second anime. And then Dragon Ball Z would give on after, but I actually did not like Dragon Ball Z at all.
You didn't?
I did not.
Talk to me. I need to know more about this.
Well, he might have been watching Pioneer at the time.
Oh, this is true. We'll get into that in a second.
Which I can't say that I blame him.
Yeah, I did not like Dragon Ball Z at all.
Okay.
Whenever it came on after Pokemon, I was like, what is this? And I remember specifically it was during the... it was right after Goku came back from King Kai's planet and he was fighting Nappa. And I'm just sitting there watching it, getting ready before I go to school or whatever. And I'm like, this is stupid. What is this? They're literally just staring at each other. They're not moving. I'm like, what is this? All right, whatever. I got to go to school.
Okay.
It wasn't until a few years later, which I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but I'm Hispanic. I'm Ecuadorian. So my parents one year sent me to school in Ecuador. It was for summer. So I was in the summer, hanging out at my aunt's house or whatever. And there's literally nothing on TV. There's nothing to watch. So I'm flipping through the channels and I'm like, all right, what's giving on? And I eventually come across Dragon Ball Z in Spanish, of course.
Of course.
And I'm like, all right, there's nothing else to watch. I've seen this, before, but I never liked it. Let me just sit down and watch it.
Okay.
And at the time in Ecuador, they were ahead in episodes. So when we were still in the Saiyan saga, they were already in the Namek saga, like in the Frieza saga.
Okay.
So they were way ahead. And I was like, all right, let me sit down and watch this because there's absolutely nothing else. Might as well. And I remember specifically it was the episode where Goku's using his 20 times Kaioken against Frieza. And this is obviously when there's the most action going on. And I'm sitting there going, I think I kind of like this now. And then there was another episode that gave on right after. It was like one after another. And it was the next episode. And I'm like, okay, I think I like this. All right.
Okay.
And then next day comes around. I'm like, all right, is it giving on again? Okay, let's watch it. And then pretty much from there, I just started watching it and just started really, really getting into it. What
So
sucked,
you
though,
you fell. You go ahead.
I was gonna say what sucked though is when I came back from Ecuador. Of course, they were so far ahead. I had to watch all the episodes like beforehand, and I'm like, all right, this is good because now I can see what happened to get to that point. But I kind of wanted to know what was happening, after the last episode I saw in Ecuador, which was right after he transformed into a Super Saiyan for the first time. So it's like, damn it, I want to know what happens. So I had to go back and rewatch everything. It sucked trying to catch up.
Your experience instantly surpasses anything 4T and I have experienced because we have never heard Dragon Ball Z in Spanish.
Well, I can't say that that's entirely true.
Really?
Back then we didn't have digital TV and cable and stuff. So
Correct.
We just remember we had VHF. Was it VHF and UHF?
VHS and UHF, yes.
Yeah, UHF.
Oh, VHS, yeah. UHF was the channel.
Yeah, you turn it to UHF, and then you can watch all the Spanish TV.
Oh, man.
Remember that?
I do remember that.
I hate to say it, though, I would look because I thought Hispanic women were beautiful. So I used to turn there just to look at the ladies.
Right.
Like, wow, they look hot. Right, I used to do that, right? But then there happened to be a Dragon Ball Z. It was the Garlic Jr. saga.
Okay.
Now, mind you, it's over 9,000 still. Again, for the 8th run.
Right.
Because it ran for 7 years?
7 years at
Something
least.
like that. So I'm watching some. I said, wait a minute, Krillin's got a white hat and white suit.
Oh, I remember that episode.
And Gohan's fishing and stuff. He looks different.
Yeah.
What is this? This is new stuff.
Yeah.
I just started watching it. That's how pathetic it was. Watching the next Saiyan saga 100 times. I feel like what's that movie with what's his name? Mission Impossible.
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise. Remember the movie we keep doing time over and over and over?
Oh, Live That Repeat.
Over, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God. That's how I felt.
God. I'm going to explain to you. 14 knows this. Josh, you may not know this. How I got into Dragon Ball Z was very screwed up. And the person who got me into this, I brought this up to her because we were friends when we were growing up in grade school. And, at the time, Dragon Ball Z was playing on television, and I was just unaware of it at the time. But she would always kind of give me these trading cards, and she says, she would draw it, and I said, hey, that looks like a cool drawing. I didn't really know anything of it. She's like, oh yeah, this is Dragon Ball. I said, Dragon what? Yeah, Dragon Ball Z. And she wrote it down, and I would read it. I was like, so you're watching a cartoon about Dragon Balls? Okay. This sounds interesting. It was just like potty humor. Dragon Balls, right? So she was like, no, trust me, it's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, how awesome is it? And she's like, well, I could show you, but you can, just let me know what you think. So she lent me the Dragon Ball Z movie 13 with Hildegard, and I put that in, and I said, I went in with no expectations. I had no idea what these people are, what they look like, anything. I didn't have anything. But I started watching it, and I instantly fell in love. I mean, the animation, and if you guys have seen movie 13, that is the best, the pinnacle of animation and fluidity and motion and everything in that movie is amazing. There's no BS. There's no waiting. It's just we're powering up to
movies. Movies are pretty to the point.
To the point, right? So they go to Super Saiyan 1. Okay, I didn't even realize that they changed to Super Saiyan 2 because I just didn't see it. He just powered up and turned, and then he started fighting harder. So I just said, harder Super Saiyan. That's what I used to call him back then.
More potty humor, huh?
But
Ew.
in any case, then he turned Super Saiyan 3, and he destroyed the monster, obliterated him. All I did was I said, I'm going to need some time with this again. I need to rewatch this as much as humanly possible because I was not expecting that. And so I pulled the tape out. I went into school the next day and I said, can you please give me more? And she's like, there is no more. This is the latest one that I have. And I said, I need you to understand.
Let me hear you again. Can you please give me more?
I need more. And she's like, well, if you want, you can turn on the television on Saturday, and they have a series. And I said, "There's a series?" So that's how I learned about the series. Yeah. So I turned on the television. I remember I woke up early. I had to wake up really early, and I said, "Okay." And I think at the time, I was watching the Tree of Might, which was like a special Tree of Might with. Movie 3 with Goku's father or brother.
No, just
No, that was it's Turles.
a fodder character that.
Right, twin Goku is what I called him at the time. Yeah. I just remember looking at it. I was like, he's gonna turn Super Saiyan now. He's gonna turn Super Saiyan now. He's turning pink. Kaioken. I just remember picking up the phone and I said to her, What is this garbage that you're showing me on television right now? She's like, oh, that's just a special. I'm like, no.
There's nothing special about it.
I just want Super Saiyan. I want Super Saiyan now. She's like, well, they don't turn Super Saiyan. And I said, why not? Why aren't they turning Super Saiyan?
It was so cool. I mean, why not keep doing it?
I just thought. So she said, well, next week they should have like the series start up again. And then it got worse.
Yeah. Yeah,
because at least
that's the purgatory,
right.
Dragon Ball purgatory that we're in 7 years.
Exactly. And then high school, that's when I met you, and I said, "Oh, now it's getting interesting again." Because at least when you were watching movie 13, the movie at least ended when the hour was over, right? Yeah. But the series just kept going, and I said, "What in God's name is happening here?" It was awful. And I was like, I don't think I could do the show anymore because movie 13, like, I need more than movie 13.
Yeah.
So I got screwed up only because she showed me the best of the best of the best. And so I remember talking to you, 14, in high school, and they said, oh, hey, did you check it out last night? Yesterday? Goku turned Super Saiyan. I was like, finally.
Yeah, you weren't very excited, were you? He wasn't very excited.
I was not excited at all.
He wasn't. I remember that.
It was terrible. But it's still Dragon Ball. And again, how I got introduced to it, it's awful.
It is a terrible thing.
But that doesn't detract from the experience because it's still amazing. Even when we talk about it today, Goku landing on planet Earth after he's been training with King Kai, it's still awesome. It's still a fantastic series even to this day. Yep. Okay. But I mean, we could talk about Dragon Ball for hours. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some other cartoons that you guys love.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of anime. Me personally, I would say my favorite right now is the Naruto series.
Naruto, okay.
Right now they're on in the manga. It's just Naruto, the whole thing. It's kind of like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. Naruto has Naruto and then Naruto Shippuden. Mm-hmm. I've been watching that for the last, I want to say 8 years. Mm-hmm. I've been watching Naruto. Something else I got into maybe about 5 years ago, One Piece, which is awesome.
Now, you've told me about those shows.
And the thing about it is, One Piece right now is the #1 anime in Japan.
Still,
and now Dragon Ball Super is creeping behind it now.
Ooh.
Yeah, it is. I guess it's that popular, but One Piece is still #1.
Reclaiming the throne.
It's coming. It is.
Okay.
But, it is Dragon Ball. Though.
Of course.
That's your dad coming back.
Right.
So, yeah. But, One Piece, and I guess that's where you get the differentiation between having English dub and original Japanese content. And then you have certain English dubs that don't do it as well as others. So One Piece does not do well in America because they've had a lot of bad times with like 4Kids TV. They got their hands on it and they censored it so much. A guy, he had a bomb he was going to blow himself up, but instead they edited, he had a sword, and he was holding it up instead of to himself. It was terrible. Like, why did you even edit that? Instead of having their guns, they had water guns.
Water guns.
Yeah.
It's basically E.T.
Oh God! And the dialect was really terrible. You know, it's just they ruined it, and we could have had a real gift, because One Piece is great. It really is. It's got 800 episodes.
800.
Yeah, I mean it's really really good. And the thing is, if you would just do it justice, like Funimation has, but you have to get it on DVD. But you know, you got to do it justice because it's great.
Okay, you bring up this very amazing point about, you know, how we live here in the States. The way people experience cartoons is unlike anything ever, because there's a lot of censorship. And, you know, 4T and I, you know, we know this, you know, how many times we've watched the shows, and as it moved networks, because that purgatory, for those who are listening out there, purgatory for Dragon Ball Z means, what was the original studio that used to dub the Dragon Ball Z cartoons? Pioneer.
The Ocean Dub.
The Ocean Dub. They stopped around the time Goku landed on planet Namek.
He took out Raccoon.
Yep. He took out Raccoon, and then the show just stops. There wasn't a season finale.
No. They took out Raccoon, and then they played the Tree of Might special.
Yes. And then they would restart the whole thing.
And then they restart the whole thing again. And that's the purgatory. And we did that for 7 years.
So I think I remember consciously. I mean, I could be wrong, and you could remind me now if you'd like. But I remember that playing 3 times. I said,
yeah, I mean, okay, I would cross my fingers. I'll say, okay, I was a good boy this year. Right. I did everything I was supposed to do. Maybe it'll be a next episode. Maybe, right? And then this time on Dragon Ball Z, a strange alien comes to Earth. I'm like, oh, God.
And again, to give everyone more context, as per the title of the show, this is before the internet was really a thing. This is back in the late 90s, where we had to talk to each other. We didn't really have cell phones. We
didn't have cell phones.
We had home phones. And 4T, did you see this? This is, we're back to, the Tree of Might again. Again.
Be at school, at the lunchroom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, terrible. Josh, I don't know if you remember that.
I mean, so that was around the time where I wasn't into DBZ, but I definitely knew of the Ocean Dub as I started kind of going back episodes and stuff like that. So I did know of the
Ocean Dub. I
didn't miss much, I know, but I mean, I did know of the Ocean Dub. I did listen and watch all the episodes the Ocean Dub has done. Definitely prefer the Funimation dub, though.
Of course. And that's when, they finally moved it over to Cartoon Network. And then Goku sounded super different. And I said, this is weird.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It did seem like a different show.
Oh, yeah.
But it's kind of like, you know what? If I'm getting more content,
absolutely,
I'll take it, because I'll take anything after doing this for 7 years.
Was it 7 years?
No, I'm exaggerating.
Oh, okay.
It was like
maybe 2, 3, a year or 2.
2, 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I could do that. You said you were
7. 7 really sounds so much better.
Oh, 7 absolutely sounds better.
No, I was going to say that.
7 Dragon Balls,
Since we mentioned Ocean Dub, right?
Yes.
Like I said, I'm going to send you to the next dimension.
Oh, God.
Exactly.
How about this?
Give them a fresh context on that.
The next dimension means that they were going to kill you, but the censors thought that was too serious for kids, so they didn't want to destroy the little tiny innocent minds, so sending them to the next dimensions meant that they were going to be sent to heaven.
Murder. Or no, you mean Home for Infinite Losers.
That was the other thing. Home for Infinite Losers.
Was
what
hell. It was hell.
Yes, context here. It's not Home for Infinite Losers. What really happened is that when Goku was traveling after he died, or sent to the next dimension, depending on what version of the story you were watching, what happened is that he had to go along Snake Way to seek out a master called King Kai, who lived on a distant planet. But in order to get to him, he had to travel along literally a long, winding snake. At one of the episodes, the very, very long episodes, he fell off and met 2 demons named... What were their names?
You mean ogres?
Ogres.
They were demons.
They were demons.
Ogres.
They were ogres, right. So if you're watching the Ocean Dub, they were ogres, and they had shirts on them. Now, in the original Japanese show, it said hell for both of them. It said Hell. What happened was... The censors went in and said, we're not having any of this. So they changed the letters to HELL to HFIL. They literally would change every frame to make sure that the letters on the shirt said HFIL. What does HFIL stand for? Home for Infinite Losers. This happened for the entire show.
Yes.
This just kept going.
For 7 years.
Yes. Mr. Satan, which is not actually Satan, it was the name of a wrestler that appeared in the later segments of the Dragon Ball Z series, was renamed Mr. Savage.
Yes, he was.
Well, he was renamed to Hercule.
I was going to say
It was also, yes,
Hercule,
but yes, Mr. Savage. Savage.
When I hear Hercule, that reminds me of somebody, but I just can't think of who it is.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway. Hercule.
Yeah. So
What are these? Oh, no.
I can tell you that you could watch Dragon Ball Z Episode 1, the American version, and then you could watch Dragon Ball Z Episode 1, the Japanese original version, and have two entirely different experiences.
You're right.
And it's still being done today. That's the best part, because they just re-released it again with Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is essentially
Really
an
good.
abridged version.
See, the English dub, and I know, Josh, you probably would agree, they really evolved. You know, if you listen to the original Funimation when they took over from Ocean, Vegeta was trying to sound like the Brian Drummond
Yes.
from Ocean.
I remember
He was
that.
still kind of like a snake, raspy snake. Goku was still trying to sound young before Sean Schimmel kind of took over and made Goku his own. And you kind of hear that when you listen to it at first, but then when they remade it, when they did the Dragon Ball remake,
Right.
or actually not even, when they started going to later seasons like the Cell Saga and Buu Saga, that's when you started hearing them kind of take over the character and make it their own rendition. Then when they did Dragon Ball remake and they went to the Saiyan Saga Funimation, then you kind of notice they're kind of making the characters better. They're making the dialect better.
Absolutely.
They're leaving scenes the way they were.
Absolutely.
And it's getting better. And now they do Dragon Ball Kai, which is basically cut the BS out and let's just get to the point.
Right.
With better dialect.
Right.
They are the characters now. It's like 10 years into it. So I mean, I'm not knocking English. I'm just saying if you're gonna do it right.
Do it right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would say DBZ Kai, which is what DBZ Kai is like you said, it cuts all the BS, but what it is in general, it's everything that was in the original manga. So all the filler stuff, all the filler episodes that were in the original 293 episodes of Dragon Ball, those get cut down, and I think it's only like 100 and something episodes when you cut all that filler.
Goodness.
And it's literally they leave some of it in there because without some of it, certain scenes don't add up.
Right.
But for the most part, the dialogue and what you see is pretty much almost one for one that you see in the manga and nothing else.
That's excellent.
And then of course, because they've been dubbing the show for so long and they've been getting better about dubbing it and keeping it to the source material, DBZ Kai is pretty much written almost as much as you can translate Japanese perfectly from that show into English. That's exactly how it is. And they've kept that for the last two movies that have come out as well. The latest two movies, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. And I'm pretty sure they're going to continue that trend because they just announced, what was it, last week? That Funimation got the license for Dragon Ball Super in English now.
I did read that news. Yeah, that's interesting to see where it all plays out.
I'm hoping they're going to continue that trend.
I agree. I am hoping that, it keeps, because, I mean, really, this came out in the late 80s, and it's 2016, and they're still dubbing the same cartoon. That really, you want to talk about a piece of nostalgia that stands the test of time. This is it. This is something that you would be talking about, like, we're going to redub the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all over again.
We're not going to go into that again. I think I was pretty clear.
No, we are. But I mean, there's something to be said about that, because, I mean, not only is it something that we are still talking about, but there's a YouTube series that we love.
Yes.
That also dubs it and does a really good job.
Yes.
And it's called, for all those who are listening out there, I'll put a description in the podcast description. It is called DBZ Abridged. This show.
Give a shout out to who do it.
Team 4-star.
Yes.
It's Team 4-star.
We love you guys.
We love you guys.
We so do.
We are
Team 4-star.
We are name dropping the hell out of this right now. It's if you guys want to see hilarity, if you guys want to get straight to the point, no BS, and you want comedy, these guys,
still good action.
But still good action. These guys, nobody does it better. Nobody. Yeah.
And I promise you, their filler scenes are worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
And even their movie dubs that they do, it's amazing.
The Christmas Tree of Might.
Yes.
Yes.
I am the
I am the champion of Christmas.
Yes. Oh God.
Good.
We can. So this is what I'm talking about. We can literally talk about Dragon Ball Z all day. All day. But this is an anime episode, so I want to be respectful to those who are listening. And there's a lot of other stuff that we could talk about, right? So what I'd like to do is when we come back. We're going to talk more about anime and its influence across the globe, some history in learning time, in some ways the culture was brought over here in the Western world, back into the fun times, also known as the 90s. As always, fresh break music for you fresh geeks out there. Josh, can you do the honors?
I will hold up the beatbox and play some music now.
We'll see you soon, guys. Welcome back to the FGC podcast. We are the senseis, Jason, Josh. We run this dojo. Our geek style is unrivaled.
Whoa. I thought you said we were doing an anime episode.
We are.
Sounds like you're doing a kung fu movie episode, which I love.
Yes. Here in the studio, we are blessed with the presence of the magnificent Forti, who's a bit of an expert in his own right.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I watched a couple episodes here and there.
Okay. Well, you know the things you know well.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Is that enough to join us for learning time?
Of course.
Okay. In this episode of Learning Time, we discuss the origin and history of anime. Anime has its roots in Japanese culture back to the period of Edo. It was an expressive art form, and the country's skill in mass-producing animated content is unrivaled. The first generation of animators in the late 1910s included Oten Shimokawa, Junichi Koichi, and Sayatawa Kitayama, commonly referred to as the fathers of anime.
Propaganda films such as Momotaro's Sea Eagles and Momotaro's God Warriors of the Sea, the latter being the first anime feature film, were made during World War II.
In 1948, Toei Animation was founded and produced the first color anime feature film in 1958, Hakajaden, The Tale of the White Serpent. It was released in the US in 1961 as Panda and the Magic Serpent. After the success of the project, Toei released a new feature-length animation annually.
In the 1970s, anime started to develop itself more and branch out into genres we see now more today, such as the mecha and super robot. Astro Boy, Lupin III, and Messenger Z were among the popular ones at the time.
It wasn't until the 1980s where anime hit mainstream in Japan. Big titles such as Gundam, Macross, and Dragon Ball became successes at home and worldwide for their great stories and superb animation. We also saw the feature film Akira released in 1988, which is regarded by critics as a landmark anime film and one of the greatest animated and science fiction films of all time.
In the 1990s, we then received even more critically acclaimed anime with releases such as Neon Genesis, Evangelion, Ghost in the Shell, and Cowboy Bebop.
And you cannot talk about anime without mentioning Hayao Miyazaki, his partner Isao Takahata, and Studio Ghibli. To date, they have produced 20 films. 8 of those films are among the 15 highest grossing anime films made in Japan, with Spirited Away being the highest, grossing over $290 million worldwide. Their style, as well as their story and the emotion that go into these films, are what break them apart from all the others.
Currently, anime is a mainstay in the United States for premier animated storytelling, with even more titles and features on the way. Even Hollywood studios are looking to capitalize on Japanese anime stories such as Ghost in the Shell and Akira with a more Western take.
Anime challenges the minds of all with its intense creativity, imagination, and passion. That was extremely informative. Thank you, 4T, for joining us from Learning Time.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I was glad to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for being on here with us, man. So going back on, to the subject of this podcast, which is all anime, do you have like any classics that you think back to?
That's not Dragon Ball.
That's not Dragon Ball.
Non-Dragon Ball classics. Well, now we're doing like, more mainstream or like kind of underground.
Surprise us.
Exactly.
Surprise, huh? All right. I think you did mention the mechs.
Yeah.
And Mobile Suit and all that stuff,
Learning
right?
Time, yeah, absolutely.
Now, most people know Gundam Wing.
Of course.
And Mobile Suit Gundam and all those stuff, right? But one that kind of got overlooked a little bit was G Gundam.
G Gundam, okay.
And for me, I call that Dragon Ball Z and Gundam combined.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
It's a great anime because usually Mobile Suit Gundam, Gundam Wing, all those mech animes are kind of like humans going through war, and they get inside these suits and they pilot them like cars or like planes. There's controls, right? G Gundam, what they do is the world Earth has been basically destroyed. Right, and everybody had left the planet and they live on colonies around the planet. Right, you have Neo Japan, Neo USA, Neo China, right? And instead of having war, what they do is each country or nation select their best fighter, and their country produces a Gundam, and the fighter actually gets inside the Gundam as a fighter, and it follows its action. So as it punches, the Gundam will punch in their martial arts style, their boxing style, whatever it is. And so they go to the planet Earth, which is the battleground, and they just pretty much have a battle royale.
And just duke it out.
And whoever is the last man standing gets to rule the colonies.
Interesting.
See what I'm saying?
So that's kind of interesting because we were talking about before in Learning Time how a lot of these animes are being remade with a much more Western take. We mentioned this in 2 episodes ago, Pacific Rim with Idris Elba. That I just rewatched that, and that movie is so good, but that would not exist at all if it weren't for Japanese influence.
You're right.
I mean, and it's funny because pretty much exactly as you explained the storyline of G Gundam. It's exactly Pacific Rim, but it's also lots of hints of Godzilla, the original Godzilla, and how I forget what they call the monsters in that movie, but it's a direct reference.
Oh, the
Kaiju.
Kanju or Kanji or something.
Yeah.
And Jaeger's
Kaiju.
Kaiju, that's it, Kaiju, right. I mean, like, the only reason why that's there is because of whence it came. And I love that. I Pacific Rim doesn't seem that it's completely, like, it's paying an homage to it, but it does a really good job, especially with the technology that exists today, where it's all good. It's all so very good.
Pacific Rim is like the best anime, non-animated movie, I guess.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I wish it did better in the box office because I thought it was great.
I don't think the box office needs to dictate how I feel about a movie.
You're right.
Because they're making Pacific Rim too.
Are they?
Oh yes, they are.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
I thought it kind of was made and forgotten. Like,
No.
I didn't think it got a big rise. It's a great movie.
And again, Idris Elba. Anything that he is in is just amazing.
He's like the black Liam Neeson.
You're right.
That's exactly what he is.
You're right. I can't argue with that.
I mean, he's freaking Shere Khan, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I can't wait to watch that movie.
Yeah.
I mentioned that before, but I didn't have a chance to actually do that yet. But yeah, I can't wait. Josh, what about you? Because I know in my mind, there's probably something that you guys probably maybe forgot or never even heard of. But I want to hear, Josh, what about you?
So we kind of mentioned it a little bit in Learning Time there, but Messenger Z. That was actually another show which I didn't realize was considered anime at the time. was another show that I ironically saw in Ecuador as well. So that's actually the only dub I've ever heard Messenger in.
Okay.
I never went back to watch the Japanese dub, and then I think there was an American dub, but I never heard it. So
Okay.
that show is strictly to me heard in Spanish only. But Messenger, pretty much, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's your typical big robot anime. So it's a giant robot that is designed by a scientist to pretty much protect the area from giant monsters that come. So what happens is the big mech messenger comes out from like a pool essentially. So it comes up from the depths, and then right now the character's main name is escaping me, but he goes like into this little helicopter looking thing, and he flies it into the head of Messenger and then kind of docks in, and that's where he controls it from.
Right.
So that's one of the classics that I remember growing up watching. And there's like a girl version of Messenger, so I think it's like his sister or something that controls that one, and they like team up and stuff like that.
See, that's interesting that you say that there's a girl version. I don't know anything about Messenger Z at all. I don't. But the fact that, they were able to kind of make another series, but are they all like are all of the main characters girls?
No.
In that
So the pilot is a guy, and he pilots the big Messenger, and then the other one, like I said, I want to say it's his sister, pilots another mech that looks more girly. So it's like pinkish. It has boobs. Of course a robot has to have boobs, right?
Okay.
But yeah, that's what that is.
And the only reason why I say that is because when I'm watching Japanese animation, they have a certain style and a certain flair and a certain air of confidence when they make their shows that they could do something like that and it works. For me, I know if they made like the female Ninja Turtles, I would want to immediately turn the show off. I'm like, what are you doing? Not that I, you know what I mean? Like, I just remember as a kid, you remember Alvin and the Chipmunks? You remember the animated cartoon?
I know where you're going with this.
I remember the second one, I was like, why am I watching this? I just,
Here's a question. Is it the Chipettes or the Chivettes?
I don't know.
Chipettes.
I just
Chipettes,
wanted it to stop. I was just like, I'm not enjoying this at all. Like,
I don't know,
get
man. You
it.
know what? Brittany's pretty cute. She's a pretty cute little chick.
I just remember watching the original. I was like, thanks, Mom, for bringing me to this. And she said, you want to watch the second? I'm like, of course I want to watch this. And I just remember being just so, like, I get why they would do it, but, like, don't do it just to, like, bring something to the table, And I just didn't see it. But I don't know, man. This is something really interesting about Japanese animation and the types of stories that they tell. Now, I remember specifically when there was a show that came out. We talked about Voltron, but there was another show that was like Voltron, but not, and it was called G-Force.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, I don't know what that looks like. Do you not like that show?
Sorry, I'm just thinking about the motorcycle helmets and the wings.
I like that show. There was just something about it I really, really enjoyed. I'm not going to talk to you about the details, but I just thought it was cool. It was just something I'd never seen before. It was
I'll just leave you alone on this island. You enjoy.
But that's just me. Again, I mean, that's the thing that I like about anime is that everybody can find something that they truly enjoy. You could watch some things that I'm like, I don't get it. Weren't you telling me that you were watching an anime where somebody was just
We're not going to talk about that on this show. We'll leave it private.
Okay, fair enough. But there is one show that came out somewhat recently that I've enjoyed tremendously. I've watched it. I rewatched it. I watched it again for the third time, and I was like, "Yep, this show is an absolute hit for me." And that show is called Samurai Champloo. Now, you've seen it, 14, and Josh, you've seen it. I cannot get enough of the show. Now, for those that don't know, Samurai Champloo features, two samurai warriors. Not really warriors. One is a vagrant by the name of Mugen, and he has a very kind of unconventional style about how he approaches things. He never went to a dojo, and then there was Jin or Gene. They call him Gene in the show, and he's somebody who was a samurai but left his dojo practice.
More of a prototypical samurai.
Exactly. And these people are at, these two men are at odds end. And then there is a girl that they encounter in the very first episode by the name of Fu, and she works in a restaurant, and their paths cross in the very beginning of the show, and the two men get arrested, and Fu helps them escape, and she does it under one condition where she is looking for somebody, a samurai who smells of sunflower seeds. A samurai who smells of sunflowers. And they agree to do that. And then that's what leads them along the path of the show, which lasts for about 24 episodes. If you're listening to this, I encourage you, go. It's on Netflix.
I was going to say, is it still on Netflix?
I think it might be on Netflix. If it's not, go to Amazon, go to Best Buy. Just get it. It's it's an amazing show, not only for the content, not only for the characters, but the music. The music is unlike anything that I've seen before. It's very much rooted within hip hop. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the same guys that created that show also created Cowboy Bebop, which is a series which featured what would you call the name of
Spike, right?
Yeah, Spike, who is a bounty hunter who basically goes through space, and him and the people that travel along with him are just finding people and capturing them. Sometimes they are not successful, but they're doing it simply to eat, and it's a primal thing, like the need to eat, and every single time that they're not able to get what it is that they're looking for, it kind of tests their resolve. And what would you do in this particular situation? It's a simple type of story. It's not grandiose. They're not heroes. They're just people, and they have skills, and this is their job. I love that. I truly love Cowboy Bebop. I love, but Samurai Champloo is on another level.
If you're gonna mention Samurai Champloo, you gotta mention Rurouni Kenshin.
Okay, you can do that.
Rurouni Kenshin. Since you're talking samurai, talking about the Batosai, the manslayer, in the Meiji era. It really goes into Japanese history. He was basically one of the best fighters at the time, and he was working for the government, killing the enemy, and he just made a vow to never kill again. So he changed his blade and made his sword like the reverse blade sword, and he would never kill again. And it's his adventures of being just a mild-mannered young man. He looks like a mild-mannered young man who doesn't do anything to anybody, but trouble seems to follow him. And he has to always make that decision. While this could be a detriment to my life or people around me, I still need to hold my honor that I swore I would never kill again. Okay. And it's just his story of how he goes through life, not doing it. Okay. But still, so that's a great anime. Okay.
That's excellent. I'm not too familiar with that show. I did watch a few episodes, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, there are some animes that you've seen, there's some animes that you've seen, and it boggles the mind. Like you literally can find something for everybody, whatever it is that you're looking for. If you're looking for just all out action, you can find that. If you're looking for something about family where there's no action at all, you can find that. If you want a space epic tale, you could find that. If you're looking for a space epic, gory tale, you can find that. There's something for everybody. Death Note, exactly. The list goes on. Let's talk about this, because we are, constantly talking about the things that we love. Josh, I'd like to know, is there anything in anime that you don't like? Because you mentioned a little bit about Dragon Ball Z, saying that you started not liking it, and then it kind of went to a place where you didn't, or you started to like it afterward.
Right.
What is there anything that you started to not like, and then you watched it more and you were like, yep, I don't like this, not at all, not one bit?
So I mean, I'm currently in the process of trying to branch out into more anime. So DBZ was, of course, like the mainstream, and then
the gateway.
Yeah, exactly, the gateway. And then I kind of started watching other mainstream animes. I would watch Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that.
None of those things I watched, by the way.
Whoa. Did you just diss Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, Pokemon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I played the Yu-Gi-Oh card game like crazy. I kind of
Yu-Gi-Oh is awesome.
No, I know that.
I love Yu-Gi-Oh.
And then there's Yu-Gi-Oh Abridged.
Oh God,
Oh,
Little Rich.
gosh.
Now that's now I gotta give shout out to Little Karibo.
Yes, that's true.
Because he actually inspired Team Fornstar.
There you go. There
So
you go.
Little Karibo,
The
he
synergy
started
right
this whole
there.
bridge thing.
Yeah.
He started it all.
Love you, Little Karibo. Love you, Little Karibo.
Yes, we all
Okay.
love you, Little Karibo. So I mean, I'm still trying to branch out. So far, almost every anime that I've been told, "Hey, watch this, watch that," I've liked. So I'm still branching out to the point where I haven't found something I don't like yet. Now, whether I actually keep up and keep watching the shows, that's a different story. That doesn't mean I don't like them. That just means I haven't had enough time to finish because there's just so many out there at this point.
Okay. So nothing at the time.
Nothing at the time of this podcast that I haven't seen something that I'm like, no, I straight up don't like it.
I bet you I could find something he doesn't like.
What's that? Talk.
Probably could.
It's not so much you don't like the anime, but you don't like what the anime does, and I think everybody hates this. It's the F-bomb.
Talk to me.
Go
filler.
for it. Oh, filler, yeah.
Oh, I
Filler.
see. Yes.
Now, I told you I adore Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, but oh God, is it notorious for filler?
Okay.
You know, it's just like, you know, you're going from, like you said, just imagine Dragon Ball Z, right? He turns into a Super Saiyan, right? Right there, and he's about to fight Frieza. But then right after that, on the next episode, Piccolo learns to drive.
Oh.
And they do about 25 episodes of that. And then you get back to Namek, and it's like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate filler. I hate filler. I hate it. I hate it. I hate
I
it.
just want to put it out there. The episode where they learn how to drive is hilarious.
That is. I'm just giving a fresh geek context to those who don't know filler.
I'm dying inside.
Filler is terrible.
It is terrible.
Filler has ruined a lot of good shows.
But
Like I told you Naruto, Bleach. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
Oh, yes.
Bleach has some really bad filler.
Of course.
Bad, like hundreds of episodes.
But what is the purpose of filler? I mean, think about it.
Because what happens is the anime is keeping up with the manga. It's getting too close to the pace of the manga. So they need the distance.
See, I literally did not know
So
that.
they give you BS. They give you, hey, you know, Ichigo learns how to make Kool-Aid.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go buy the sugar, and then I'm going to get a pop.
Let me ask you a question because, I mean, maybe you know this, and because a lot of times when I'm watching something, you know, I just kind of immerse myself, and I really don't think too much about the outside circumstances. But when you see filler, is that all? Like, does the quality and the style of the show degrade?
Sometimes.
It
Really?
can because
Sometimes. Not always.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Josh. Go
no,
ahead, Josh.
sorry. It can, and the only reason it can is because at that point, filler episodes they're not by the original creator and they're not by the original manga they're going off of. So
See, now there's a lot of
The
times when I'm
studio's just trying to
watching-
make money.
exactly.
Okay.
So like let's say Spider-Man, right? You know the history of Spider-Man, his origin story, right?
Of course.
Let's say you adapt the first 3 issues of Spider-Man into an anime series. What they'll
Ooh, that would be awesome.
that would be awesome. But what happens is so you have the first 3 books. Let's say Stan Lee and Steve Ditko are in the process of writing the 4th one, right? So you adapt the first 3 books because that's what you have. But then, oh wait, we have to have an episode come out this week. He's not done with that 4th book.
Gotcha.
Spider-Man has to go take Aunt May grocery shopping. What?
Okay.
No, we don't
Yeah.
want to see that.
and half the episodes in the grocery store.
Exactly. So
Okay.
filler is pretty much there to, just like Forty said, to help catch up with the manga. So again, I know we keep going back to DBZ, but that's exactly why in DBZ you have them literally just staring at each other and literally powering up for so long because they had to wait for the next manga to come out and be like, okay, now we can keep going, because they didn't want to get too far ahead.
For that show, like, I know that the quality of the artwork just got terrible at times, and I'm just like, what am I even watching anymore? But like, I would have to be consciously thinking about it. Like, if the story doesn't advance, does the quality of the show go down? And I'm sure if I watch it, then yeah, it's gonna do that. But yeah, that's interesting because
And
there's a lot of
And sorry, I mean, if you want another perfect example, another anime that kind of suffered for, and they had to actually make a whole nother series just to make up for it,
What's that?
is Full Metal Alchemist. The original Full Metal Alchemist
yes.
anime, it started to go the course of the manga, but then because, they took so long, I guess, they just went on a completely different tangent than what
And told its own
the
story.
book did. Yeah, exactly. So then they had to
Okay.
make Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and that is the adaptation of the manga.
And most of the time, you can tell you're watching filler because you love this anime, you're watching it, and you just find yourself not enjoying it at all.
Right.
You're like, this is filler. This has nothing to do with the story.
Right.
And this sucks.
Right.
Now, I will say this. One anime does a great job with their filler.
Okay. Talk to me.
One Piece.
One Piece. Okay.
Now, they have their fair share of filler, but it may be about 2 or 3 episodes of pointless filler. But a lot of other times, they'll have good filler.
Okay.
You know, it'll be after the defeat of the bad guy or the boss, right? Then they'll show like everybody healing up their wounds, how the city or the town is reacting to them. In the background, the big main enemy, what they're doing. They might give you an origin story about they just do it so well. You get to kind of learn more about the world or more about the characters. And that's not actually part of the manga, but it actually is interesting. I do like the way One Piece does that. Drawback is One Piece is so incredibly slow paced.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about a good 20 episodes before they actually make their point. They're a little bit worse than Dragon Ball Z. They may have more content,
Okay.
but it takes longer to do it,
Okay.
if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. I just, it's like I almost want to go back and, 14, I'm bringing this up because just recently, we chatted about experiencing, the original series in English and just rewatching it again in the original Japanese. Now, Josh, I don't know if you've done this, but I had the wonderful experience of doing this. Have you ever watched the original? I'm taking it back to Dragon Ball, but only for a little second. Just for a second.
Sure.
Just for a second. Have you watched the original Dragon Ball Z in Japanese?
So I have seen certain episodes in Japanese.
Josh, I'm telling you now, please, 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 watch it in the original from beginning to end. It is a completely different show.
Yeah, well, this is what I was going to say. I mean, because Super isn't available in English yet, the only way to watch it is in Japanese. So I've seen the entirety of Super. They're up to episode 65 at this point, 66 coming out. Should be out when this podcast is out.
Hey, is this spoiler? Can we spoil here?
Yes, absolutely.
Is it okay, Josh?
Yeah, go for it.
And what's coming out in 66?
What's coming out in 66?
We have the return of Vegito.
Vegito is back. Super Saiyan Blue.
We do have the return of Super Saiyan Blue.
Yeah.
Vegeta,
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've seen this entire series, in Japanese at this point. And so maybe about halfway through the series, I decided, you know what, I really, really want to go back and watch the original Dragon Ball and DBZ and GT, even though we're not going to go on a tangent on GT. But I do want to see the 3 series in Japanese. And I have the Funimation blue, orange, and green boxes. So that's just the style of the boxes. So we just call them by the colors.
Okay.
Which has the English dub, but it also has the original Japanese audio in it as well.
Okay.
So I really, whenever I have time and whenever I start it over again, because honestly, I've seen the series a billion times, but whenever I go back the next time, I want to do the entire thing of Japanese and the movies as well.
So, I would like to talk a little bit more about some of the newer anime that's coming out because I know I mentioned this to you, Josh, and I know that 4T has seen this. One Punch Man.
Oh, One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
Oh, yes.
Josh, have you seen One Punch Man yet?
Oh, we're getting a season 2.
I have heard all of the amazing things. It is in my Hulu queue at this point. I
Dude,
have not seen it yet.
What are you doing right now?
You really listen.
I know.
One Punch Man is quick. You can knock that out tonight.
Yes. Yes,
Just
absolutely.
knock it out. 13 episodes. They're all awesome.
You would think.
I mean, I got my phone next to me. I could just put it on Hulu right now.
You can please do this.
Just do yourself a
this.
favor. You're gonna love it, and you're gonna be so disappointed when it's over because you're gonna want more.
The reason why I bring this up is because it's an unconventional type of story. The story is about a guy that is super powerful, that is trying his hardest to find somebody who's a challenge for him, and he just completely obliterates everybody with one punch. He doesn't have to try. So I'm thinking to myself, well, how does this show work? How does a main hero can be so strong the show's not going to work. It works.
It works perfectly.
It works perfectly.
And the guy is such a dud. He's just a random dude with a really bad costume with no skill.
No skills.
And he's the most, and he's, no, you said super strong. No, he's the most powerful being in the universe.
Yes.
He's basically God.
Yes. Like, you saw a Titan come up, and he just, yep, done.
I mean, obliterates.
So it is, I can't understand how they can take a story like that and just flip it on its head and still make it entertaining. That show was so entertaining.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. Josh, is there a show that you...
Oh, and remember, nobody respects him.
Nobody respects him. No, not at all.
No.
But, I mean, the character design and the different characters that they present, it's so good. Even when the animation starts to get a little wonky, it's still good.
But I must say, though, the animation in that, even from the beginning, it's like, where did they get all this money from? It's so fluid.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's beautiful. It really is.
And I would love to, and I know nothing about this, but like you talk about a budget, I want to know what it looks like, because all of these studios are constantly producing all of these cartoons, like these animated series and movies in mass. And they're all like, it's just too many to name. It's like I'm overwhelmed by what I can choose from, But I like to go back to the classic, for example, because there are some things that I've watched when I was a kid that was actually just too much for me to handle as a kid.
Sure.
I remember when the original PlayStation came out, there was Ghost in the Shell. Now the Ghost in the Shell game that came out was amazing, but I remember I had some difficulty watching Ghost in the Shell, and Ghost in the Shell is actually based on a book. And I believe it's called Do Electric Sheep Dream of Android Sparks? Or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I think it's based on Blade Runner. I'm not too familiar with the book. But the concept of Ghost in the Shell, where, a human being who lives in this technological age that constantly has their limbs and their organs constantly replaced by robotic limbs and robotic pieces, what part of them is human? I just remember watching that movie and thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I should be watching this because it looks cool, but is it for me? And that's when I realized as a whole how deep anime was. And I remember when I wasn't even in high school at that time. There's some deep content that's out there, so if you want to get cerebral with certain things, you can certainly do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was an anime that did that to you or anybody here.
Oh, there's several.
I mean, honestly, Ghost in the Shell probably would have been the same thing for me. I remember watching that in high school. One of my good friends in high school, he was a major fan of Ghost in the Shell. He's the one that actually showed me it for the first time. He was like, "Oh, have you ever seen this anime? Blah blah." And I'm like, "No, what's this about?" And then we watched it, and I was like, "This is amazing."
Okay.
And
what caught you? Was it the content? Was it the animation? Was it all of the above? Was it something that
It was definitely a combination of the animation itself, as well as the overall, I guess, theme of it. Like the whole exactly what you said. If you're human or if you're not human, like, can this person, I guess, exist?
Of course.
Or how do they exist, rather?
Of course.
It's just a trippy film when you like watch it
and immerse yourself into it.
Yeah.
What about you, Forte?
Well, it's funny because I kind of put together both what you were just discussing. First, you said what are the more up-to-date, newer animes, and then you said what's something that's real cerebral or deep or invokes an emotional response. I think of Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Because have either of you seen it?
I have not yet. I know you told me to watch it,
Josh?
but I have not seen it yet.
I have not seen Attack on Titan,
Listen,
but I've heard many good things.
You're in for a treat. It's almost the polar opposite to One Punch Man as far as it's very gritty, very dark, very apocalyptic. It almost brings up a new genre, like kind of like a survival horror type setup. Very, very different from what I've ever seen. And one, it is it's a breath of fresh air because it's like a new concept. These things, these titans are pretty much run over the world, and there's been peace for 100 years. So I guess your ancestors have dealt with this. But then you go into them attacking again, and people are dying, and they're dying in the most brutal ways. I mean, they're having a giant just chop you in half with its teeth, or eating you alive and swallowing you, and you just live in the belly, and the acid just destroys you. And humans are dying left and right. It's a very depressing anime, but you want to see more, because how is the hero gonna rise from this? And it's a very amazing concept, because the main character Eren, he actually can transform into one of these titans. We don't even understand how, because what happens is he gets eaten into little pieces. Next thing you know, this new titan that's responding and able to show some form of intellect is fighting other titans. And then now the humans don't know how to trust this man that should be dead that's turned into a titan. And in his story, it's a cerebral horror, interesting, action-packed, deep concept, and it just keeps going.
Of course.
And it's just, and we're getting a season 2 of that too. That's coming out.
Yeah.
You both will really, I'd say watch Attack on Titan before One Punch Man.
Okay.
Or if you could watch them both at the same time, because it might balance you out. You might be overly depressed, then lift it up by One Punch Man.
Of course. One Punch Man is amazing.
But that anime is amazing. I'm going to take one from Jace. Amazing. Yes.
Oh, man.
I don't think I've never heard anybody to say they did not like Attack on Titan.
Okay. Let's take it back a little bit further. And I know, because I've talked to you about this directly, 4T. But Josh, I haven't asked you about this. And this is an older anime, but are you familiar with Fist of the North Star?
That I actually have not heard of.
Man, see now, I know 4T and I could discuss this. I know 4T really enjoys it tremendously. For me...
Exploding heads. What else do I need to say?
Again, for me, I was more about entertainment. That was a little too much for me. It was just, our mutual friend Joe, I know he really enjoys.
He brought it. You introduced us to
Of course. But I was just like, okay, I'm going to need to go.
I'm going to go hold my blanket now and tell my mother I love her.
But then, we're talking about cerebral stuff, like we mentioned before, Akira, you were going to talk about one of the best celebrated animes of all time. That is the most celebrated anime of all time. The animation is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I'm not sure who directed it or created it or produced it, but we could all have our favorite characters, and of course we always make these references to Dragon Ball Z. I know Canada is my favorite. I thought Canada was going to be everybody's favorite, but 14.
Is that the one that has the psychic powers?
Yes, the Vegeta lookalike.
Vegeta's bastard child.
But 14, you have your favorite character, and I this is how I knew that we were going to be friends.
Oh, what I told you?
Yes.
You know what I'm about to do, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, you know what I'm about to do, right?
Yeah. 14, could you tell everybody who's listening to the show your favorite character in Akira, please?
Well, I don't know his name. He doesn't have a very big role.
No.
But I think he's only in one scene in the whole movie, as a matter of fact.
No. He's in many scenes.
Yeah. All right. I like the general. he
Wait. You like the general, right? But could you explain to me why you like the general? Because he didn't really do much.
He didn't do much. One, his air, his attitude.
Yes.
He was always standing erect. He was always walking so oddly and uncomfortably.
Like a G.I. Joe. Oh,
it's so bad. It was great. But the main thing is, there's a scene when the teenagers, they all get in trouble.
Yes.
And they have to stand there and he's chastising them. Hey, you guys aren't doing this right. You need to do this. And then he goes, "Are you listening to what I'm saying?" And they say, "You lost me after the first word, sir." And he goes, "Discipline, smack, discipline, punch, discipline, elbow, discipline." Knocks him out. Oh God, I rewind that scene over and over and over again because I couldn't believe that actually happened.
No, but there was a phrase that you said, and as soon as you said it, I was like, I like this dude.
What did I say?
You said he demands respect. He demands so much respect. He commands other people to shoot other people.
Yeah.
And he commands rocks to fall away from him.
Yes, he does. Oh, yeah, he is invincible, isn't he? That is right. Yeah, nothing ever hurts him.
Nothing hurts him.
But he has no powers.
He survives till the very end of the...
Yeah, that is right. I do remember that. Man, you took it back.
Yes,
I
did.
97.
Yes. That's what I'm telling you. That's how I knew that you and I were going to be friends.
Oh man.
But that's Akira. That's a personal thing. But for those who are listening, we have lots of different types of anime that we obviously enjoy. But this is the fun part. You can watch it and you can experience it. You could love one character. Josh may love another character. Josh may not even like the character, but 14 would love something else that you didn't even think about even processing in your brain. And that's what I really love about anime. Now, moving on to the next topic, for us in the States, I mean, no matter, depending on where you're listening to this podcast, this show, we can't talk about anime without acknowledging how we receive anime, because we have very backwards ways as to how we receive content.
We will not disclose on the show.
We will not disclose on the show. But Josh,
this is not a setup, is it?
No, it's not. Josh, how do you...
Do I have to worry about my door being knocked down right now?
Josh, how do you...
Crunchyroll, in which I pay a monthly...
Don't want to deal with that.
I was gonna say, Josh, can you tell me how you are currently watching your anime?
Currently, I am watching through Hulu, through Crunchyroll, through Funimation Now.
Okay.
When Dragon Ball Super wasn't on officially Crunchyroll, through other means.
That will not be named.
But yeah, that's pretty much how I do it now. So.
Okay.
One of the newer animes that I'm watching now is called Fairy Tail.
Okay.
They have.
Oh, that's a great one.
I love Fairy Tail. They have one season on Netflix, which I'm very disappointed in. But the rest of them are on Funimation's app. So I've been watching everything on there pretty much.
Psst, psst,
What's that?
psst, Josh.
Yes.
Listen, if you want everything Fairy Tail, see me after the show.
All right, I got you.
There's some shady deals going on right now. But the reason why I bring that up is because, again, when we always talk about, how we got into anime, we're going before the year 2000. We're going into the late 90s. We're going to the early 90s. And before, we're even going before that. You couldn't just walk into a store in the 80s and ask for anime. You'd ask the guy at the Wizard, what are you talking about? We just don't have that. It started to become a little bit more accessible by word of mouth. And
in school, have you checked? Hey, check this tape out. I just got this tape from my uncle, my cousin, whatever, my friend.
Exactly, but it really started to come to a head with a very familiar show that everybody in the 90s is familiar with. And exactly. That kind of sounds like Terminator 2. We're not going to get anything.
in my mind, that was exactly what
I know. Listen, I know what I'm saying, so I know what you're trying to do.
I'll be back.
What I'm trying to say is there was a wonderful show. It came on originally during the afternoon time, right after high school, and it was called Toonami. And Toonami was amazing. It was a 2-hour slot at the time, and they showed 4 shows, and it premiered shows that had nothing to do with Western entertainment. It was all shows that had previously aired in Japan and across the world, and it was coming to us for the first time. And it really introduced kids of that age, whether you were 8 or 13 or even, in college, to new different types of entertainment.
Toonami's what brought me G Gundam and Rurouni Kenshin.
Exactly. And there are some shows that are just not coming to me right now, but I just remember looking forward to that time. And there's not a lot of shows that I can say, I'm going home because we have work now. You're going home to watch this show. I just don't, who does that now?
Well, we're in the binge era now, kind of.
Exactly.
Everything is very accessible. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a DVR now. Mm-hmm. Like me and my wife, we never watch anything on time. Oh. Even The Walking Dead, when we watch that, we watch about 45 minutes after it's come on. Damn. Because we don't believe in commercials.
No, you're right.
We don't believe in it. We like to fast forward through them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, Josh, I know you know of Toonami. And, it was a big part of all of our childhood, whoever's listening. What were some of the shows that you look forward to? Because, you want to talk about distribution. That was what people had.
Besides the D word.
Besides, yes.
Besides that, yeah. In all honesty, that's what I would watch it for. Because that was in the era where I still wasn't into anime as much as I am now. So I know they would give on Rurouni Kenshin, they would give on Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, and a few others in there, and then of course the D word that we're not going to try to not mention anymore.
We're just dancing around this word all night.
We are. I mean,
how did we not mention Yu Yu Hakusho? Oh my god!
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho was in there.
That was the show that competed with Dragon Ball.
Oh yes,
in Japan.
Yeah.
They you want a top action anime? We have Yu Yu Hakusho. Man, that's a top notch. I don't even know why I didn't think of that. That's great.
Yeah,
But then
I tried watching Yu Yu Hakusho when I was around that time, and I was like, I can't really get into it.
Right.
Now that I'm older and stuff like that, I want to see if I can go back and see what I think about it now.
That's the beauty of it. You can go back and watch these shows, and they stand the test of time every time.
Yeah.
Every time. I don't care what anybody says. You could watch Astro Boy, you could watch Speed Racer, and those shows are still going to be amazing.
I love Speed
I
Racer.
love it. So good. Yeah, help me out here, 4T. There are some other shows that I know that we always used to talk about. And people in the States, they started to get the hint of things. That's why shows like Samurai Jack started coming around. And that was an amazing show.
I love Samurai Jack.
And did you hear that show is actually coming back? Huh.
Yes.
And it got Phil Lamar to still do the voice. I
Doesn't he
love
do
that.
Green Lantern?
I think so.
I think he does.
He does a lot of voices. So yeah, that's,
just to name a few more that were on there that I just realized. Outlaw Star was another one. The Big
Cowboy
O.
Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. That was a big one for a very, very long time.
The Big O.
The Big O.
Yep.
How can we not talk about the Big O?
The Big O.
That's Mobile Suit Gundam and Batman put together.
Oh my god, it was just so good. There's so many different wonderful shows that came
Was
out.
Thundercats on Toonami?
Yes,
Was
it
it?
was actually.
It was.
It was.
It was. Oh god.
And at
You
that
can't
time,
forget
I
about
was
Sailor Moon either, by the way.
Sailor Moon was something I actively tried to avoid.
I actually
just-
watched Sailor Moon. Now that I think about it.
Okay,
Tuxedo
And-
Mask.
Tuxedo Mask.
I don't.
Listen, remember you said yourself, if you look at the original Japanese animation and minus the US censorship, you actually find the show's a lot darker and more serious than they convey in the in original English dub attempt.
So you're telling me that Sailor Moon is a watchable show?
The only thing I said to you is if you watch something in its original Japanese.
What you're implying, though.
I'm just telling you a theory that you said earlier.
Oh,
I'm
true.
simply reminding you.
Okay.
Of what you said.
Fair enough. Okay. I can't argue that point. When you got me, you got me. When you got me, you got me.
But Sailor Moon is kick ass.
Yeah.
Huh?
So I know that Toonami removed from the afternoon time to the midnight run.
Oh yeah.
And that's when things got really interesting. You look forward to staying up late at night. And then they had the unedited, uncut versions.
Yes.
And that's what it was cool to be a kid. I enjoyed that. And when I couldn't stay up for reasons, I would have to find a blank VCR tape, set it to record, and I would be able to watch it whenever I wanted to. It was, this is the best part of nostalgia. Honestly, this is the best part. Josh, were there any shows in the midnight run that you really enjoyed?
I don't think I really watched the Midnight Run as much.
What? You're missing out.
Yeah, because this was all during the time where I wasn't really actively seeking. I knew the shows that I watched and I stuck to it.
Okay.
So
Well, the beauty of 2016 is that all the shows that you would like to watch are everywhere.
Everywhere.
pretty much.
Everywhere.
I have a question for you guys.
Of course. Go ahead.
Do you remember, I believe it was Saturday nights or maybe Saturday like 7 to maybe up to midnight? There was a whole anime block, a whole bunch of shows would come out, and I think it was like kind of the test run. Do you remember what that was called, or does that sound familiar? It was on Cartoon Network. I don't think it was Toonami, but it was kind of like an anime block, like shows like, what is that stupid doll that does lightning? He goes to Ken. Z or something?
I'm ringing the bell.
I'll look it up in a minute. Or they had Bobo. Yes, that's a real anime.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
They had him, or they'll have not Duel Masters. that would debut. Like they even threw Naruto on there, and it's like later other things.
That was much later though.
That was later, but like 2002. But I forgot what that was called. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was another gateway into seeing what popular anime was.
Of course.
Didn't they have like Space Ghost hosted or something like that?
They did. They had a lot of and that's when they were experimenting with like their own content that was for an adult crowd, which I liked for a little bit, but it got weird, and so I just never was able to get into that. I was always more into the shows more than anything else.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I'm forgetting. Were there other shows that we wanted to mention?
Well, I had a question for you guys.
Yes, go ahead.
What is possibly the worst anime you ever watched, but you love it and you watched it to the very end?
Oh man, that's gonna be hard. Let me think. Probably something in high school. I'm gonna pass on this question.
Okay.
Because I know you have something.
Oh, you know I know.
Yeah. What is it?
All right, Josh.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so this is for like this is a deep anime. This is not known by I think I'm the only one that knows this anime. But this is called Masini Goku.
Nope.
Ever heard it?
Nope.
No, Masini
That's this too deep for me.
I don't think this anime was about nothing. It was a guy living his life. And it was by far one of the most addicting animes I have ever seen. I had a friend of mine. His name was, I guess should I say his name?
Of course.
I can say his name?
Yeah.
All right, Perry Keeley. He's a friend of mine. And he told me, he said, listen, I bet you'll love this anime. I said, I bet you I won't. What's it about? Nothing. I said, yeah, you can keep that. He goes, no, seriously, you will love it. It is the most addicting anime I have ever seen. I said, you got to be kidding me. So I watch it. The first episode is really weird. People are drinking a lot. It's about this, he's like a Ronin. I guess you're not in college yet or something when you're an adult or young teenager, whatever.
Right.
And then it's this girl he likes. And I'm going to tell you, the episode did not have me, set on fire or nothing. But would you believe it or not, I watched the entire thing.
How much was it? Like how?
It was long. It's a good 200-300 episodes.
300 episodes.
Yeah, and you got to see it. Because I have to know what happens to this guy. If I don't, I'll die. I have to know.
You need to tell me now what happened to this.
It's like Seinfeld, but in anime form, pretty much.
Yeah.
And very Japanese-esque.
Okay. All right.
And very.
I want.
They took everything American about Seinfeld and removed it.
Oh,
right,
okay.
fair.
Very Japanese.
What's it called again?
Context.
I don't even know I can't spell it, but Masini Koku. Look it up on
Okay.
Masini Koku if you can find it.
Probably not, but how does it end?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for everybody.
Spoilers. What's wrong with you, Jace?
I mean, do you guys want to know?
I mean,
all right, he makes it to college, he gets the girl,
Okay.
they have a child.
really?
I mean, it's you almost got to, I'm like tearing up, like, he did it. he got married and everything. This has been so hard. And he's been the happiest day of my life.
It's basically your typical sitcom, but in anime form.
It is, and it's so addicting because it's just, you just got to know. And it's funny. It's very funny.
Okay. Now I'm intrigued. Now I'm absolutely intrigued.
Now, I watched this anime maybe good 10 years ago, I think, when I saw it.
10 years ago.
Maybe even longer, maybe 2004.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like 2003, 2004 when I watched it.
For those who are listening to us ramble still, what I'll do is when we find the actual title, we will put this in the description so you can check it out for yourself.
It is Masini Koku. I know that's what it's called.
Okay. We'll put a link so you can actually see a picture. So when you're looking for it on Amazon, you'll be able to find it very easily.
I don't think it's going to be on Amazon.
Really?
I do know where I can find it, though.
Oh, yes.
But we can't link that, can we?
I mean...
Go to 450 TNKA on YouTube, and I assure you I'll have it linked for you.
You are pimping yourself hard.
All right. Well, before we wrap this up, I'll ask one more question.
Go ahead.
Are there any animes that you have kind of put to the side and you're gearing up to like watch them in the near future or anything like that? Any animes off the top of your head that you really want to watch?
Yeah, 14 mentions it all the time. I mean, he sends me a reminder, I mean, maybe once a month. That is Naruto.
Oh, I mean, it's been 3 years.
I mean,
he hasn't seen one episode.
I mean, I've seen the first episode.
You have?
I have.
And you never told me?
I just know. Well, I know that you want me to watch more.
I'd like you to tell me what you think.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
But you know what it is? It's so overwhelming. There's so many episodes, and I'm like,
I get it.
It's
Listen,
like
one season at a time. Just watch season 1.
if we were talking right now, and we were talking about like, oh, what is the gateway drug for anime? And you would say Dragon Ball, and I say, where do we get started? And you would say, get started on episode 1. Well, how many episodes are there? Like 800? No. Are you kidding
My sister
me?
said that. She said it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah. Just for the average person. So for me, as much as Naruto looks amazing,
It's great.
it's just, if I had the abridged version.
Remember he said Hulu.
Yes.
Watch it on Hulu. Just watch season 1. Watch it season by season.
Mm.
Just watch it.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
So for me, we kind of touched upon a little bit One Punch Man. But I also really, because I've heard really, really good things, I really want to also start watching Assassination Classroom.
Interesting.
And My Hero Academia.
Hmm.
Those are two I've heard
Those
about
are,
that I really want to
he's
see.
right. Those are 2 new ones I need to get into.
Yeah,
So much.
I heard those are really good.
What about you, Forty?
I mean, you know, I'm always watching 20 animes at the same time. I like Josh was saying, I have to pick back up on Fairy Tail.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to get to Time Skip. I don't know how far you've gotten. I need to see. I remember he was mentioning something about Spider-Man and being like an anime manga.
Oh, yeah.
Well, X-Men actually has
Yes.
an anime
Yes.
that I have not finished. And I can't think of one reason why I haven't. But it is absolutely
So good.
totally
So
amazing.
good.
It annihilates everything America has ever
Why
done
are
with the
you
X-Men.
even bringing up the American X-Men?
Yeah, wow.
Why are you bringing up American
Yes,
X-Men?
I say yes to the anime X-Men
No
version.
to the cartoon. No to the movies.
Yes.
No.
Oh man, perfection.
Josh, I think every single time I have, we have an episode, there was at least one time I mention or hint at how much I hate the X-Men now.
X-Men is your trigger word.
It's
it is.
just, oh God.
How about if I just say men?
No.
That's a different trigger word for Jace.
No. Nope.
Josh, you need to check out the X-Men anime.
That
It's
is
short. It's like, what, 13 episodes?
Yeah, I need to see
That's
it.
the only. So now I need to end on a bad note. I have to. You know I have to. What
If you are
does
going
anybody-
on a tangent on X-Men right now, I'm going to stop you.
It involves X-Men, and I don't even know if it's anime. But do you guys remember Pride of the X-Men?
Oh God. Oh God, help me.
Was that even anime? I don't even know.
That was just utter trash.
It was trash.
Absolute,
It
utter,
was.
gutter, dirty, New York City, hookerish, infested, knockoff trash.
What was that? Josh, did you ever see that?
I don't think I did.
Just save yourself the time.
X-Men saving the day.
Definitely did not, if that's what that
Oh God, I don't know if my singing is really awful.
No. It was
That's
actually
pretty accurate.
spot on.
That's pretty accurate.
It's spot on. I will just say this. Wolverine,
Oh God.
you know in your mind it either sounds like the original Fox animated series Wolverine, or it sounds like Steve Bloom, who does Cowboy Bebop and Mugen from, Samurai Champloo. That's not what this Wolverine sounds like.
No, this Wolverine has an Australian accent. Blimey!
Yeah.
I think I seen the girl in my claws. I'm like, what?
is. So it's Hugh Jackman in his natural form.
No.
No. That would be an upgrade. I would gladly take that.
Because I could watch X-Men too, and
this is
I'm okay
it's
with
terrible.
that.
It
It's
is-
terrible.
And
Kids!
remember he meows. I don't think I know. So what's wrong with him?
Sounds
no.
horrible.
Yeah. It is the worst. You
It's
must.
laughable.
You know what? He has a task. He must watch Pride of the X-Men tonight.
Pride of the X-Men.
It's only 20 minutes.
It's bad.
He's gonna lose some brain
It
cells.
starts off like teasing you, like, "Oh, I'm gonna be amazing."
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Once they open up their mouth
It's all
and
downhill.
people start walking, it's over.
It's pretty bad.
It's so
It's pretty bad.
Okay. All right. So that's all we have for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'll tell you what, if you like what we had to say, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Jace Rockland, and Josh.
You can find me at JCA90. You can also find us at FGC Podcast or email us at freshgeekcontext@gmail.com. And 4T?
I'm still working on my YouTube page, but it'll be 450TNKA. You'll find me, and you'll have some good stuff on there.
Excellent. When we get that information, we will tell everybody so you can go on over to his page. You can also visit our website at freshgeekcontext.com for past episodes. And lastly, if you could, please hit that subscribe button. For us on iTunes, it goes a long way for us to know that you're still listening. And you can go to our podcast section or the podcast app on your iPhone, and you can share with your friends so they can be Fresh Geek too. 4T, from the bottom of our hearts, certainly mine, I'm so glad that you were able to appear on the show, and just this was a blast. This is certainly a blast.
I must say it is fun taking part of this.
Yes, thank you very much, man.
Okay, so for everyone, have a good night. What are you doing?
Oh, they still can hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Sorry. Sorry, I was doing the theme music.
Next time on FGC Podcast.
Oh, you too much.
Will 4T finish the theme song? Find out.
Oh, God, you're too much. All right, have a good night, everybody.